Hello, everybody. This is José Ignacio from the Uncomfortable Dialogues 2022. It is my honor to have Gabriela Villalobos with us today. Gabi is a multicultural executive that helps boards and CEOs to turn around businesses, expand through acquisitions, or going into new markets. Her executive experience includes CPG, retail electronics, food and beverage, direct selling, B2B, and B2C. And she has been associated with Farmer Brothers, Amway, Compu US, and Philip Morris International. She currently lives in Dallas-Fort Worth. Gabi is very charismatic, flexible, and extremely persuasive. Without any further ado, welcome to our Uncomfortable Dialogue 2022, Gabi. How are you doing today?
Hi, Nacho. Doing very good. Happy to be with you this afternoon.
Hey, Gabi, before we were taping, we were talking about leadership and the whole notion about why leaderships are so important in the business environment. But now, in the context of leadership, so what do you think about leaders facing adversity? Is it an oxymoron or it's part of the definition of being a leader? What do you think?
I think that's a great question, Nacho. But I will start by defining what leadership really means. Most of the time, when referring to leadership, our minds go to think about people with authority within organizations. But in my experience, leadership is about acting, influencing, and making things happen. It's not about titles at all. So, in this context, leaders are always confronted with adversity because life is complex, business are dynamic, and humans are complicated. That's how we see ordinary people becoming extraordinary leaders because of their actions, the actions that they take to resolve problems, either in their families, in their communities, or in their countries. So I do think leaders lead always in adversity. In fact, leaders must learn to be comfortable with uncertainty and adversity because that's part of life. Life is changing constantly. To really develop leadership skills, it requires that those individuals are going through challenges, adversities, and experiences.
Gabi, in fact, as I have read your resume, that gave me a hint about the challenges and adversities you have solved. So, throughout your professional experience, what are the 2 or 3 skills that you have mastered when facing adversities?
That's a very good question, also, because there is all type of adversities, right? And we can go to degrees of situations, but there are always things that you need to address. Going from one country, one company, or from one business model to another certainly helps you to exercise your skills and leadership muscles. But there are two that I will highlight, Jose, that always have helped me to navigate through my experiences. Number one, listening. Intentionally gathering as much as information from all the parties involved before in concluding or deciding. That's had been really important for me. And then the second is learning. Be an eternal student. I always said that you need to master the micro to lead the macro. You need to learn the core of what makes a business. What are those levers? And sometimes you find similarities, but normally there is always uniqueness. And that uniqueness needs to be mastered if you want to influence and make things happen.
Gabi, I think, unfortunately, we are running out of time, but I have one final question, and the final question is pretty loaded, so it's going to be kind of a heavy answer, I assume. So the question will be: if we look at the history of this life, throughout the history of the human race, we have had certain adversities. I mean, you can name it from discovering the new continents, or learning new languages, or even go abroad from Europe into America, or whatever. You just name it. But every time, the humans have found an adversity situation and solved it. So, in the scale of 1 to 100, what is your optimism about the future? Do you think that the new crisis or the new adversity will be easier to be solved or difficult to be solved?
Jose, that is a very complicated question. When we think about the history of planet Earth, humans are just a very small point in that history. And yet the Earth has been confronted with all kinds of challenges, adversity, and crisis, even before humans. Now in the human era, we have seen it, one crisis after the other, one challenge after the other. But at the same time, those challenges are the ones that have made us advance and move forward. All these diseases have triggered wonderful discoveries. So I think this dynamic will continue. Humans will continue creating and making life easier in some ways, but more complicated in other ways. We have brought to ourselves incredible new technologies and progress, but at the same time, we have brought to ourselves a lot of sad and not very positive situations that probably will need to revert. So this takes us back to your project on uncomfortable leaders. I don't see the human future as comfortable at all, but full of adversity and at the same time, full of opportunities.
Gabi, thank you very much for the time. It has been a joyful discussion today. I really appreciate it. And for everybody else watching this video, if you happen to have any question or comment to Gabi or myself, just write it down here in YouTube and LinkedIn, and we'll get back to you. Thank you very much.